The Nigerian diaspora is sending home over $21 billion a year. This is huge, as it represents about 70% of the federal government's budget. The Nigerian diaspora can help even a lot more if it is properly engaged. To help us discuss this, we have Folashade Aliyu, President and CEO of Alpha Digitals Limited. Mr. Liu has businesses in both the United States and Nigeria. Please join me in our discussion with Folashade Aliyu. Right, Folashade, we want to thank you for being in our studio. But before we get into the matter at hand, I want to ask you, just come all the way from the United States.
Yes.
What has brought you this time?
Well, what I can tell you, well, first I will say thank you for having me. Sure. It's a pleasure being here. And I can say that I'm one of those Nigerians that are trying to find their way back here. And currently I have a couple of projects going on, corporate management, supports different projects. So I come back and forth. That's
good. Well, that's good. I think the country wants to have you back. I always say to people that, don't try to bring everybody back. They can help from wherever they are. But those that want to come back, please let them come. Yes. And then give the assistance that might be needed to have that done. But even in that connection, sometimes I wonder if we're doing that well enough. If we are helping people who want to come back to really get well settled in as they try to come back. But that's another matter. Let's get to the matter at hand here. We have issues with the exchange rate situation out there now, and often we say that we are one of the biggest countries when it comes to remittances back home, from the diaspora. Do you think that our remittances, can have a role? I mean, is there any role that's playing now that we have a situation with our reserves? Let me even give a little background there. Our federal government budget is about $30 billion. Remittances, the last records that I've seen, suggest something like 70% of 30 billion. So that's like $21 billion. So that's a lot. That's a lot. So is it fair to say that there is a role for remittances coming from Nigerians in the diaspora, and that if that can play an important part at this time?
Well, I think that has been in discussion for so many years. And like you said, if you look at the percentage, it has a significant role. The number one thing you want to consider is, what do they do with this money? So that means building homes, helping family members for medical, for education, starting new businesses. All of those comes into our economy, into the market. And it stays here. Yes. And if someone tells me that that's not important enough, look at the situation of the dollars now. Every day you find that the availability of dollar in the market is reduced, and what happens? The parallel market rate goes up. Yeah. So if we continue to inject and encourage Nigerians in the diaspora, and one thing that I see that we do and I really appreciate is that most of us, I would say almost 100% of Nigerians in the diaspora, no matter where they live, they have a sense of belonging at home, whether it's mother, Absolutely. Father, uncle, and that is very significant. Apart from the fact that we come and, like people like me coming back and doing one thing or the other on ground, which is also adding to the economy. So, but for the way that I see it though, is that it depends on the government of the day, the way they see the significance and the way they see the value added. So I think it's a lot to be, considered, especially in this administration. And one of the reasons that I am very hopeful today is that the senior special assistant to the president is somebody that we're familiar with. She understands our strength on diaspora, Honorable Abike Dabiri. Yes. And she understands our strength. She understands weaknesses and where we could fit in better. Yeah. So there's a lot to.
So writing on that, in that regard, talking about BK now, what is the state of the diaspora today? I mean, the way you look at the world, the way our people are out there, are they doing well?
Well, if you say individually, yes, a lot of us were doing exceptionally well in our fields and in our professions, our industry and all of that. But collectively, that's what we really need to, I would say, re-strategize. Just like you know that NIDO starting from 2000 running into 2001 when it was established, I was in the interim board.
That is Nigerians
in Diaspora Organization.
Okay,
you know, if you ask me, what's the journey so far? We can do a lot better. We can really do a lot better because we were able to set the foundation to say that what would be the focus. President Obasanjo came and said, look, when they want professionals to come and do certain things, expatriates, they cannot find Nigerians. That was the excuse then. And you know, in his right thinking, he thought, well, this could be a value added for my country and for the image of Nigerians, you know, abroad. So that was the whole concept. And, you know, we started very well, I will tell you. But somewhere along the line, you know, missions are misconstrued and, you know, some people don't even understand the vision. So I think now with Honorable Abike Dabiri, we have another opportunity to regroup this thing and make it better. And I'm sure
you were very active in NIDO, but I recall, you know, having seen people come from all over the world, you know, for seminars or conferences and get-togethers here in Abuja. Sometimes involving the president. But I've not seen that in some time now. What has happened?
No, actually, we did one 2015.
Oh, last year?
Yeah, last year.
Oh, okay.
We did one, even though the preparation because of the new administration, I think we did it was done in August instead of July.
That was done by NIDO?
No, it was done by the ministry that was supposed to supervise the foreign, I would say the diaspora, not the foreign, but it was done in conjunction with I'm trying to remember from the Secretary of State, I was not Secretary of State.
Government?
Secretary to the government, is the PAMSEC Political Affairs. That's the office that is responsible for the diaspora.
But what I was wondering, who did they engage? Who?
Well, it was actually very, very successful. I think the Vice President was there. I think the President couldn't make it because it was very close to the time that they came to the office. We had people from all over the world. You know, we celebrated some Nigerians.
That was done during the time of
it was done August, August last year.
I see.
You know, I was around and I was partly part of the planning committee.
What were the issues?
Well, the concept that we were trying to put along is that we have been doing this for so long. We need to begin to take note of our achievements. You know, and the contributions to governance. You know, to good governance, of course. And last year we tried to focus basically on the education and health. Of course, we have other areas. But we said, well, let us start to celebrate ourselves because if nobody is going to tell our story, we have to continue. When you talk about image building, you have to tell your story.
Absolutely.
And we realized that there's so many Nigerians that have done so well. There's a gentleman that solved his mathematical problem. You know, we have even people that were in the boxing, international boxing arena.
Was that to celebrate these people, or was it to see how they can contribute?
It's to see how they can contribute, but you've got to create a platform for them to come and contribute. Because of course they are contributing in their host country, in their own little communities here and there. But in order for you to bring them, they have to be able to see that the platform is right for them.
Absolutely.
You know, so that's what we are doing. I mean, we have medical doctors, we have scientists, we have all kinds of people from different industries. And I think the message is to say, yes, we need to do better. I want to quickly go to the database, you know, which is the diaspora database. A lot of people talk about it. But like we said, we start a process and we don't allow the process to work. And I think that's the problem that we have. And I'm sure that, you know, something different will be done this time around.
There are the people that we're engaging now, we're talking to now, they are mostly Nigerian-born diaspora. Now, what happens when their kids, the so-called host country-born diaspora, are prominent? Would there be a decay of the relationship? I mean, will we be able to still engage them as well as we're engaging the Nigerian-born diaspora now?
Well, one thing that I can tell you, that is a very pertinent area to think about. Even let's look at it from our own families, you know, our own children. How many times do they come to Nigeria? But beyond that, how do we connect them to Nigeria? And you can see now that our children are doing very well, even in the host countries.
Absolutely.
But I think it's part of our responsibility. I can tell you a few things that some communities have done. For instance, in Atlanta, we have the Igbo communities, the Yoruba communities, they have this summer school programs, they have programs across the year. Even the Nigerian Women Association of Georgia, I know we do programs. We do schools outreach.
Yes.
And I participated in that a lot, where we go to secondary schools, elementary schools, and talking, especially in February during the Black History Month, talking about Nigeria, and we have discovered a lot doing that. Because you find that there are some children that were Nigerian born, and they will say, I can't find my father and all of that. Then we find a way to reconnect them. So if you come to that aspect, I think now what we are trying to encourage is that we should find a way to work with the NYSC. I know with the Nigerian Women Leadership Council International, that was one of our...
You used to be president of that.
Yes, I was the president of that organization. One of the things...
Yes, but what did that
One of the things that we try to do is that let us even begin at some point. Our children that are already graduated, that are willing to know what Nigeria is all about, let's organize and bring them through the NYSC process. Of course, we'll do certain orientations and all of that.
So wait a minute,
because they're a little bit naive.
They would do NYSC in Nigeria and then go back.
And go back.
Okay.
And go back. And then what we were arranging is, of course, they have to post them into areas where they have family members. Because these children, most of them, they are not even familiar with this environment at all. But somehow along the line, I don't know how it fell through the crack that we couldn't, do that, because some of us were ready to.
But at that, can you really have the kids do that at their age?
Yes, they were willing.
They're done with university and they're kind of like adults on their own.
I am telling you, they are willing. Some of the kids that we spoke to, because like for instance, I will say Atlanta again, we have what they call the Nigerian Youth Alliance. And a lot of them are grown now, are even married with children and all of that. They were willing.
That's good. There's something we kind of got to it a little bit there, but I want to come back to it. And it pertains to strengthening our people in the diaspora, whether it be in Europe or the Americas or United States or wherever, to be able to be big and good business people, so that they can not only just influence their host community, but that they can repatriate more money back home, and that they can serve, they can develop sources or linkages with components back home in Nigeria. So you're growing jobs in Nigeria to support business ventures and activities outside. I want you to react to that, whether that's something, whether you see it the same way.
Well, I see it the same way that you do, and I only can wish that as we, our government officials, for instance, they come and do road shows and seminars, workshops about Nigeria, but sometimes you cannot really get the message. This is one of the things that they could be doing. When they're talking about diversification of the economy, of reliant on oil and this and that, that is a very good point. Because if you have a business in the US, and for instance, you want to have a branch in Nigeria, you can be using, which the Indians are doing. Basically, that's what they do. If you look at these, for instance, the call center, the IT industry, that's basically what they do. They come to India and use their people to formulate all kinds of products and services, and they sell it. So what I'm saying is that is a good way of starting, because there must be a starting point. If somebody is running a business, whether it's service business or retail business or whatever, wholesale business, if they're successful enough that they can have something on ground, it will help generate, because these days you can work anywhere and deliver anywhere in the world now. So I'm hoping that, like I said in the first place, I'm hoping that we can use this new administration, this new opportunity, understanding the familiar face of, the senior special assistant, to actually do some tangible things. And as a matter of fact, I will say that when we did the Diaspora Day in 2015, that was part of the focus. That what's the linkage? How do we enhance the linkage between the host countries and Nigeria? And of course, we can do better. With the consulate, I think they have the business or some business attaché at the embassy.
Yes, they do. Yeah.
So these are the kind of things that they need to be looking at. How do we strengthen that linkage? Because now that we're talking about dollars, that is another way of actually bringing a lot of those, so we don't have to all this devaluation problem and all of that. Right. I'm not saying it's not going to be there, but I'm saying that it could be a very good, resource for them to look at that. And now that even the president is saying that they want to clean up the image of Nigerians in the diaspora and strengthen bilateral relationship and all of that. I think from trade, because when money exchange hands, it's easier to discuss rather than just talking and no action. So I'm hoping that they will look into that area, but that's a very significant part. And we have a lot of areas, a lot of different areas that we could use for that purpose. So only for us to have a rallying point and a starting point.
Thank you very much.
You're
On that
very
note,
welcome.
I want to thank you so very much.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.